just going through now. So this was the strip, what I called the wasteland or whatever that was between the old garden here and the new garden, which has the tater patch in it this year. It's about 6 foot wide by, I don't know, the width, 30 to 40 feet of the garden here. It goes all the way over. And so what I did today was it had some radish in it, and it had a bunch of just grasses and stuff coming up. So I went through today and I tilled all that. It also had a lot of just hard spots and rut and that subsoil that's all on top. It had all that, so I tilled it all down, you know, try to break it down real smooth. And then of course I went over to my neighbors and started bringing in bucketfuls of this composted cow manure out of his feedlot. Now this stuff, I just stacked it up yesterday. His feedlot is soup right now. Just from rains that we've had. So just yesterday I got in there and I piled all this up outside of his lot so it could try to start to drain and dry. But of course 24 hours isn't going to do that much for you. Today it has the consistency of, I don't know, Play-Doh, very soft Play-Doh. You can't walk on it, you'll sink through it, but you won't sink forever. But it's chopping up pretty nice with the garden hose. So I'm just going through and I'm kind of chopping it to try to level it out. Excuse me, to try to level it out. And of course, as I do, I'm pulling out all that garbage, all the hay strings and trash that he throws in. I mean, I can't reason why the man throws trash in there, but he thinks that if he throws trash in a hole, the hole will fill up. But really it just becomes a trashy, muddy mess, and it's like plastic doesn't absorb. Okay, anyway, that's my problem that I have to deal with to get this, you know, premium garden soil. So it's a small price to pay for what I get out of the deal, really. Anyway, I just figured I'd mention to you guys. So this again, this was the center strip. You can see there's some pretty deep ruts, which is actually a good sign. That tells me that my, you know, no-till, low-impact garden here is working very, very well. That's that nasty subsoil that, you know, will set up like concrete. But the fact is, I was walking across it on the surface just fine. Driving in across it, you know, with, I don't know, 500 pounds or 700 pounds, whatever it is, of muck in the bucket, of course, made me squish. But that's okay, because those squished down ruts are just going to get filled up with the same lovely soil. Excuse me. So I didn't bother, you know, trying to till those back in and smooth them. They're just going to get filled in, and the manure will be a little deeper there. So anyway, just going through, you can kind of see the smooth dump piles where each bucket full, I think I put 10 or 11 bucketfuls is what it took to fill this space. And you know, last year in the garden I made a video that as I was putting this stuff out each bucket, I was going through it with a shovel and pulling strings out, and that's certainly the more robust way to do it. But this year I just said, you know what, screw it, I'm dumping it. I'll pick through it just kind of every chance I get. But again, since my aim is to do no-till, then I shouldn't be gobbing the tiller up with strings all the time. But I know at some point I'll make a mistake and run through here with the tiller again, and I'll wad it up, and I'll deal with that when it comes. But that's not my goal. So I'm going to try to get most of this chopped down level, and I want to pull it out to about here, you know, which is kind of in line with the edge of the old garden, kind of where you start to see the rut start right there. That's the edge of the old garden. I want to take it on across. I tilled all that down today too. That was hard packed. That was all piled up and rutted. Got those ruts smoothed out and filled in a little bit, and then tilled down just to try to break it down. I want to get more manure obviously on that, but that's not today's goal. Was filling in the dead zone, or whatever, wasteland, whatever you want to call it. So I got that done. So now the garden is all contiguous, and you know, basically starting here is new garden now, going across. I've made the garden a third again as big at least. If I get everything covered like I want to, it'll be obviously more than twice as big. And then, yeah, not to get too far off topic, but I want to start tilling and putting dirt all in here in between the orchard and stop driving through there and dirt all of it with manure as well and make all that garden. Why not? But bite-sized chunks, no man's land, getting it taken care of today. So on the garden expansion here, I just figured I'd mention, I just went through, it's been put out now for 2 days, as far as like I dumped out with the tractor, and then that same day I went through with the garden hoe and I just kind of chopped it down to try to level it. It's still, you can see it's high right here in the middle and it tapers off pretty steep in the back. But I wasn't about to try to rake everything all out and make it all a nice slope. This whole garden has, you know, it's mostly flat but sloping to the north. I don't really care if it's perfectly flat. I don't want it absolutely perfectly flat. Anyway, so I went through just now and it's still about Play-Doh consistency. If I walk out there through it, I'll leave big footprints. But I don't think I'll sink up to my knees anymore. But went through with the garden hoe and just tried to level it a little more, and then went through with the rake and tried to level it as best I could. And really that I was just kind of doing for final like bed prep, because I want to have at least the top couple inches be broke up smaller so it'll dry a little faster. And I'm going to go through right now and go ahead and try to start planting corn in it. So I've got 2 rows stretched out here, already cut the rows. I'm going to get the corn planted, and then I'll start leapfrogging my row markers there. And yeah, we'll see how many more I get. Maybe 4 more rows out of there. But I'm just going to plant corn all the way across till I hit the potatoes. And then that'll have this whole garden filled. You know, it's crazy to think that last year I gardened just this little spot, but last year I had it planted really heavy, really thick, or like really close spacing. And this year I'm planting wider spacing and more of a few varieties, but less variety, I guess. So, you know, anyway, whatever. That's the goal. That's the stretch goal. Wrap around the corner here. I mean, this can be composted right away. A few more tractor buckets to fill in that. I can put some squash plants in here, and then westward and onward.